When a sharp-tongued socialite named Clarissa Dale visits a mysterious estate expecting a philanthropic formality, she unwittingly walks into a high-stakes inheritance challenge left by the estranged grandmother she never knew, one that forces her to confront her prejudice, privilege, and painful family history under the watchful eye of Maxwell Grange, the estate's black executor, whom she first mistakes for a servant. Over 8 transformative weeks, Clarissa must either change or lose. Everything, but what she gains in the end is far more than fortune. It's purpose, legacy, and the chance to rewrite who she truly is. If you liked the video and subscribe to the channel, let's move on to our story. Enjoy watching. Clarissa Dale didn't knock. She never knocked. The polished mahogany door to the sprawling estate swung open before her, either by automation or by the silent command of her sharply clicking heels as she ascended the front steps. The place was absurd. Stone arches, climbing ivy, 2 lion statues guarding the entrance like something out of a BBC drama. She rolled her eyes behind oversized Chanel sunglasses. "Try hard money," she muttered. She stepped into the marble foyer like she owned it. Golden chandeliers, velvet drapes, crystal vases. The air smelled like lemon polish and self-importance. Clarissa wrinkled her nose. A man approached from the hallway, a tall black man in a crisp charcoal suit, neatly knotted blue tie, posture military straight. His hands were folded behind his back, his expression unreadable. He looked mid-40s, maybe early 50s, with specks of silver dusting his temples. Clarissa zeroed in like a heat-seeking missile. "All wonderful. You must be the butler," she said brightly, pulling her phone from her crocodile bag. "Could you bring my suitcase from the car? I parked beside the fountain, because of course there's a fountain." The man didn't move. He watched her, blinking once, slowly. "Pardon?" She flashed her trademark smile. The kind that always got her upgraded to first class. "The suitcase. Be careful with it. There's a limited edition Hermes scarf inside." Pause. Then he smiled, a restrained, razor-thin thing. "I see," he said. "Would you prefer I fetch it before or after I inform you that this house, and everything in it, now belongs to you?" Clarissa's hand froze halfway to her sunglasses. "What?" "My name is Maxwell Grange. I'm the executor of this estate. You, Miss Dale, are the last known heir of Eleanor Harrington, who passed away 6 weeks ago. As of today, you are the sole inheritor of this property, contingent on the terms laid out in her final letter." Clarissa blinked, then laughed, once sharp and barking. "You're kidding. This is some TikTok prank thing? Am I being filmed? Is there a hidden camera in one of these Rococo lamps?" Maxwell raised one brow. "I assure you it's very real. Would you care to sit down before we proceed?" "No, wait. Eleanor Harrington? That name's familiar. My mom mentioned her once. Said she was a tyrant in pearls. Wait, wasn't she the one who disowned her own daughter for marrying beneath her?" "Your mother, yes. Which makes you Eleanor's granddaughter." Clarissa took a step back, heel catching the corner of the entry rug. She steadied herself on a nearby column and laughed again, though this time it trembled. "This is insane." "I would agree," Maxwell said calmly, producing a sealed cream envelope from his breast pocket. "Nevertheless, you were summoned here for this. It contains her final statement. You may open it when you're ready." Clarissa stared at the envelope as if it might bite her. "I came here because your firm told me there was a philanthropic opportunity. I thought it was some stupid luncheon or trust meeting. You people lured me out here under false pretenses." "You were offered an opportunity," Maxwell replied. "Just not the kind you expected." Clarissa hesitated, then snatched the envelope from his hand. The handwriting on the front was old-fashioned, looped and elegant. Clarissa Marin Dale. Her full name. No one had used Marin since grade school. She tore it open. "My dearest Clarissa, if you're reading this, then I am gone. And if you've come this far, then you're already doing better than your mother ever did. I judged her harshly, perhaps too harshly, but I could not bear to watch her squander the Harrington name with her decisions. Maybe it's not too late for you to prove yourself different. This estate and the full inheritance attached to it will pass to you, if you complete 8 weeks here under one condition. You must live within these walls without incident. No scandals. No cruelty. No arrogance. You are to treat every member of this household as your equal. Fail, and everything reverts to the Historical Preservation Society. Maxwell Grange, whom you just met, has full authority to assess your progress. Choose wisely. Eleanor Harrington. Clarissa's lips curled. She's testing me? From the grave. Seems so, Maxwell said. 8 weeks. Starting today. You may of course leave now. No penalty. But no return. Clarissa's brain scrambled for an angle. 8 weeks? How hard could that be? Put on a smile. Pretend to be decent. Swallow her opinions for a few measly weeks, then walk away a millionaire? She'd survived worse. Fashion Week in Milan came to mind. I'll do it, she said. Easy. Maxwell didn't smile. It won't be. Is that a threat? No, he replied. A prediction. Clarissa squared her shoulders. Well, you were right about one thing, Mr. Grange. Maxwell is fine. She continued as if he hadn't spoken. This is an opportunity, and I intend to make the most of it. She turned on her heel and marched past him, toward the grand staircase, stilettos echoing with confidence she didn't fully feel. As she passed beneath the chandelier, Maxwell spoke quietly behind her. You didn't ask why you were chosen. Clarissa didn't turn around. Because I'm blood. That's how these dynasties work. No, he said. Because you're broken. Just like she was. And she wanted to see if anything could be rebuilt. Clarissa stopped cold on the third step. But she didn't answer. Clarissa didn't sleep the first night. She wandered the hallways of the Harrington estate in silk pajamas and a borrowed robe, her footsteps muffled by antique Persian rugs. The house creaked like it was still deciding whether to accept her. Oil portraits stared down with pale eyes and tight lips. Somewhere, a grandfather clock ticked like a heartbeat. At 3:47 a.m., she gave up pretending she wasn't rattled. In the library, she reread the letter under a green-shaded lamp. 8 weeks. No scandal. No arrogance. Treat everyone as an equal. She scoffed out loud. I'm being punished for having standards. But her voice didn't carry the same weight it had at cocktail parties or fundraisers. It bounced back at her small and insecure, swallowed by the towering bookshelves and high ceilings. The next morning she dressed deliberately, white blouse, tailored slacks, Louboutins, and made her way downstairs chin high. Maxwell was already seated in the breakfast parlor with a cup of coffee and a tablet. He didn't look up as she entered. Is there, she cleared her throat, a menu? He tapped the screen once. The kitchen serves breakfast from 7 to 9. You may order or make your own. Coffee's fresh. Cream on the side. Clarissa stood awkwardly, not used to being unguided in matters of comfort. After a moment, she poured herself a cup and sat across from him. I reread the letter, she said. I assumed. She hated my mother. She didn't hate her, Maxwell replied. She hated being disappointed. Eleanor had a genius for punishment. Withholding affection was just her first move. Clarissa studied him. You knew her well. I worked for her for over 20 years. Personal counsel. Estate manager. Executor. Occasionally, emotional punching bag. Clarissa smirked. I assumed she didn't talk about me. She did. Oh. Maxwell finally looked at her. She called you a diamond, beautiful, expensive, and useless under pressure. Clarissa's smirk faltered. He continued. But also that you might prove her wrong if given the right pressure. She stirred her coffee slowly. And you? What do you think I am? That, he said, remains to be seen. The door creaked open and a middle-aged woman with streaked auburn hair stepped in holding a clipboard. She wore denim overalls and rubber boots caked with dried soil. This the princess? She asked, nodding at Clarissa. I'm Clarissa Dale, she replied coolly. And you are? Juniper Lance. Head groundskeeper. Don't bother shaking my hand, mud and manicures rarely mix. Clarissa blinked. Do all the staff introduce themselves with attitude? Maxwell sipped his coffee. Only the honest ones. Juniper slapped the clipboard on the table in front of Clarissa. We're replacing the rose trellises. Got a few options. Your money, your call. Pick something before noon, or I'll choose the ugliest ones out of spite. Clarissa raised an eyebrow. Do I look like a horticulturist? Juniper grinned. You look like someone who'd sue a caterer for forgetting her gluten-free cake. I'm not gluten-free. Congratulations on being tolerably human. Clarissa glanced at Maxwell. He said nothing. She scanned the options. The handwriting was messy, the terminology unfamiliar. Climbing heirlooms? Hybrid tea? Shrub roses? Whichever won't die, she muttered, circling a name at random. Juniper took the clipboard, gave a mock salute, and disappeared without another word. Clarissa turned back to Maxwell. She's delightful. She's protective, he replied. Of the house. Of the people in it. Clarissa leaned back. And how many people are in it, exactly? 7, Maxwell said. Besides you and me. Housekeeper. Gardener. Chauffeur. Cleaner. 2 part-timers. All handpicked. All loyal to Eleanor. Let me guess, Clarissa said. They all get to report back to you on my behavior. Maxwell didn't confirm. He didn't need to. Clarissa pressed her lips together, then stood. I want to see my room. Maxwell gestured down the hall. 2nd floor, west wing. The suite with the blue doors. She hesitated at the doorway. Just out of curiosity. Why me? Maxwell paused. She had no one else left, he said. But I think maybe she hoped you'd surprise us both. The suite was too big. 3 rooms, fireplace, balcony, closet space that rivaled boutique showrooms. But there was something sterile about it. It didn't feel lived in. More like a stage waiting for the actors to perform. Clarissa opened drawers. Found silk bedding, handwritten notes on the temperature preferences for bath water, a schedule tucked in the nightstand. The 2nd envelope sat atop the vanity. Her name was written in the same sharp cursive. Read me if you stayed the night. She tore it open. You're still here. Good. Don't waste your breath trying to charm them. They've all seen women like you. Women who think the world spins to the rhythm of their wallet and waistline. If you want to win this, you'll have to stop performing. That means listening. Working. Apologizing. You'll want to manipulate Maxwell. Don't bother. He sees through performances like sunlight through silk. If he gives you a warning, take it. You have 8 weeks to learn how to be something other than ornamental. If you succeed, the fortune is yours. But more importantly, you might save yourself from becoming me. Eleanor. Clarissa dropped the letter like it burned. She caught her reflection in the vanity mirror, flawless makeup, pearl earrings, expression flat as glass. She didn't know what was worse, that her grandmother had seen straight through her, or that she might be right. Clarissa was not used to introductions that didn't come with name tags, polite applause, or someone asking where she got her shoes. But that's exactly what the next morning brought. No fanfare, just Maxwell standing in the foyer with arms folded and a clipboard in hand. Orientation begins now, he said flatly. I'd suggest comfortable shoes. But I see that ship has sailed. Clarissa looked down at her beige Prada heels. These are comfortable. For runway models, perhaps. She followed him down a wide corridor that led to a side wing she hadn't explored yet. The wallpaper here was faded, the ceilings lower. Lived in. Human. Less gallery, more home. They entered a sunlit sitting room where 4 people waited, none of whom looked particularly impressed by her presence. Maxwell made the introductions. This is Antoine, head chef. Antoine was slender, bald, and wore an apron that read "Kiss the cook and get slapped." He gave her a brief nod, arms crossed over his chest. This is Miriam, Maxwell continued, our cleaner, and inventory manager. Miriam was in her late 40s, with short platinum hair, thick-rimmed glasses, and an expression that suggested she'd seen, and bleached, worse than anything Clarissa could throw at her. Juniper, you've met, Maxwell said. Juniper gave her a sarcastic salute from an armchair. Her boots were still muddy. And this, he finished, is Leo. Grounds and repairs. He works part-time, lives off-site. Leo, a lanky man with dark eyes and calloused hands, gave a polite smile. He couldn't have been more than 22. Clarissa forced a smile of her own. Nice to meet you all. No one smiled back. Well, she said after an awkward pause, this is going well. Antoine stepped forward. Let's get something straight, Miss Dale. Clarissa is fine. He ignored her. We're not here to impress you. We were loyal to Eleanor. We'll follow the terms of her will. That's all. So if you're planning on playing Queen of the Castle for 8 weeks. Let me stop you there, Clarissa cut in. I'm not here to rule. I'm here to pass a test. Just like you said. So let's not pretend we're going to be friends. Juniper raised an eyebrow. Finally, something we agree on. Maxwell stepped between them with the ease of a practiced referee. Clarissa will shadow each of you for 1 day. Starting tomorrow. No tasks are off limits. Consider it practical education. Clarissa blinked. I didn't sign up to be Cinderella. No, Maxwell replied. You signed up to become something better than what you are. The room was silent. Leo cleared his throat. I'll go easy on her when she shadows me. Maybe just shovel some gravel. Clarissa gave him a thin smile. You're my favorite already. Antoine rolled his eyes and left the room. The others followed. One by one. No bows. No, your ladyship. No curiosity. Just silence. The next morning, Clarissa stood in the estate's massive kitchen wearing jeans, a button-down shirt, and sneakers that hadn't seen sunlight in 2 years. Antoine was already prepping the day's ingredients. You're late, he said without turning. It's 7:01. You're late, he repeated. Clarissa suppressed a sigh. Fine. What do you want me to do? He slid a chopping board her way along with a pile of vegetables and a knife. Dice these. Uniform size. No blood. Clarissa stared at the pile like it was a surgical table. I have people who cook for me. Not today. She picked up the knife and tried to channel every cooking show she'd ever watched. Within 10 minutes, the cutting board looked like the aftermath of a blender malfunction. Antoine glanced over and whistled low. You murder vegetables. Impressive. I didn't come here to be insulted by a man wearing a novelty apron. No, he said, you came here to inherit a fortune you didn't earn. And you'll fail if you keep thinking the work is beneath you. Clarissa looked up sharply. Antoine met her gaze. You're not being punished by Eleanor. You're being invited. To change. She went quiet. By noon, she'd burned her hand on a pan, dropped a tray of shallots, and learned that creme fraiche was not the same as sour cream. But she didn't complain. Not once. That afternoon, Antoine sent her upstairs with a tray of lunch for Miriam. You made it, he said. You carry it. Miriam was in the linen room, sorting napkins the same way one might prepare military uniforms. Clarissa placed the tray on a shelf and sat down across from her. Don't get comfortable, Miriam said. Clarissa picked up a napkin and started folding. I'm not. They worked in silence for a while. Then Miriam said, I knew your mother. Clarissa blinked. What? She stayed here for 3 weeks before Eleanor forced her out. She used to sneak me chocolates from the pantry. She wasn't cruel. Just scared. Clarissa didn't know how to respond. Eleanor had her rules, Miriam went on. And when your mother broke them, the door closed. That's what money does to people. It makes their rules more important than their love. Clarissa looked down at the napkin in her lap. You don't have to be her, Miriam said softly. I don't even know who she was, Clarissa whispered. Then start by learning who you are. That night, Clarissa sat on the balcony outside her room, wineglass in hand, hair undone. She watched the staff eat dinner together in the garden below, laughing, teasing each other, like family. Maxwell appeared beside her with a second glass. You didn't storm out today, he said. I was tempted. Why didn't you? Clarissa stared at the stars. Because for once, I wasn't the most important person in the room. Maxwell sipped his wine. Progress. She gave him a sideways glance. Don't tell me I'm winning you over. I'm not here to be won, he said. I'm here to watch. Clarissa leaned back in her chair. Tell me the truth, Maxwell. What did she really want? Maxwell looked at her for a long time before answering. She wanted to know if the part of you that was trained to conquer could be taught to care. Clarissa had begun to think she was improving. By week 2, she could fold linens like Miriam, knew the difference between thyme and rosemary, and even developed a callus on her left palm from helping Leo clear bramble from the East Gardens. She hadn't snapped at anyone in 4 days, a personal record. She even smiled. Genuinely once or twice. So when Maxwell called her into the study, she expected praise. Instead, he shut the door behind her and handed her a printed transcript. What's this? She asked. A summary of your conversation yesterday with Juniper. Clarissa frowned and scanned it. Oh, come on. That was a joke. Was it? She was complaining about her limp like she always does, and I said if she hated working outside so much, maybe she should try sitting behind a desk and collecting disability. It was sarcasm. Maxwell's face was stone. It was cruelty. Clarissa threw the paper on the desk. You weren't even there. I didn't need to be. She came to me. And she's never complained once in the 15 years she's worked here, until now. Clarissa folded her arms. So this is it? One slip and I'm disqualified. No, Maxwell said. But this was more than a slip. It was instinct. You didn't even think. You saw someone with a weakness and you used it. Just like Eleanor used to. That hit harder than she expected. Clarissa turned away, staring at the rows of leather-bound books. I've been trying. I know. I've changed. You've improved. There's a difference. Her voice dropped. So what do you want me to do? Beg for forgiveness? I want you to mean it. Later that afternoon, Clarissa found Juniper in the greenhouse, transplanting herbs into ceramic pots. The space smelled like mint and citrus and faint tension. Juniper didn't look up when she heard the door open. Don't need help. I'm not here to help, Clarissa said. I'm here to apologize. A long pause. Clarissa took a breath. What I said yesterday, about you and your leg, it was unkind. And it wasn't a joke. It was mean. I was mean. Juniper grunted. Got that right. I thought I was being clever. But really, I was just being the kind of person I swore I wasn't anymore. Juniper pressed soil around a sprig of basil. Do you even know how I got the limp? Clarissa shook her head. Fallujah, Juniper said. Third tour. Took shrapnel. Lost a third of my squad. Came home with a medal and a limp, and people still call me damaged goods. Clarissa's breath caught. I didn't know, she said. You didn't ask. Clarissa stepped closer. You were right about me. I came here thinking I could charm my way through this. That if I acted polite and said the right things, I'd win. But this place, it's not just a test. It's a mirror. Juniper finally looked at her. And what do you see? Clarissa swallowed hard. Someone I wouldn't trust. Juniper gave a short nod, then handed her a pot. Start with lavender. It doesn't care if you're broken. It grows anyway. That night, Maxwell stood beside the fireplace in the drawing room as Clarissa entered. I apologized, she said. I know. Is that enough? He looked at her with measured silence. That's not for me to say, but I can tell you what Juniper said. Clarissa folded her arms. Well? Maxwell's lips twitched slightly. She said if you mess up again, she's planting you in the compost pile. Clarissa let out a breath and laughed. That sounds like her. He gestured for her to sit. We're at the halfway mark, Clarissa. 4 weeks left. I've noticed. There's a countdown in my closet. Maxwell raised a brow. Seriously? She smirked. Gold glitter numbers. Very tasteful. He didn't smile, but there was a warmth in his eyes she hadn't seen before. She leaned forward, voice quieter. Can I ask you something personal? He nodded. Why are you doing this? This whole performance. Executor, judge, quiet observer. You could have retired. Or sued for emotional damages from Eleanor. Maxwell stared into the fire. Because she gave me a purpose, he said. Even if it came wrapped in cruelty. And when she died, I wanted to see if she left something behind worth saving. Clarissa looked at him. You mean me? I mean the person you could become. The next morning, Clarissa's phone buzzed for the first time in days. It was a voicemail from an unknown number. She hit play. Clarissa, you don't know me, but I work with the law office that handled the Harrington estate. I wasn't supposed to say anything, but there's something odd. Eleanor amended the will twice, once 3 months before her death, and once just 5 days before. But only the earlier version was filed. The second one vanished. Maxwell would have known. I think you're being played. Clarissa froze. Maxwell? No. He wouldn't lie to her. Would he? She replayed the message. There was no callback number. Just static at the end. Her stomach twisted. Was this inheritance test really about her? Or was it about something else entirely? Clarissa didn't sleep that night. The voicemail looped in her head like a threat with no signature. She'd replayed it 4 times, parsing each word, each pause. Maxwell would have known. By sunrise, she wasn't sure what bothered her more, the idea that the will had been tampered with, or the possibility that Maxwell had been lying from the start. She slipped into the study before breakfast, a place she'd previously avoided for fear of Eleanor's lingering ghost. The air still smelled faintly of pipe tobacco and lavender sachets. Mahogany shelves lined the walls, heavy with decades of secrets. She pulled down box after box of legal files, correspondence, and contracts. Most were dry: property records, donor receipts, letters written in Eleanor's perfectly cruel cursive. But tucked into the back of a leather-bound ledger was something different. A photo. A woman in her 20s, laughing beside a man Clarissa didn't recognize. They stood at the estate gates, arms around each other mid-laughter. The woman was unmistakably her mother, softer, brighter, alive in a way Clarissa had never seen. The man beside her was black, with dreadlocks pulled back and a chipped front tooth. On the back, someone had scrawled, "Lena and Ezra, 1987. Don't tell mother." Clarissa stared at the names. Lena. Her mother. Ezra. Someone Eleanor didn't approve of. Suddenly, the edges of her understanding began to fray. "Maxwell," Clarissa said later that morning, cornering him near the conservatory, "I need to ask you something, and I want the truth. Not your polished, executor version." He studied her calmly. "You're upset. Did Eleanor change the will before she died?" Maxwell didn't blink. "What did you find?" "A voicemail," she snapped. "From someone who said the second version disappeared. That you knew." He sighed softly and glanced away. "I hoped this wouldn't surface yet." "So it is true. There was a second will," he admitted. "An amendment. But it wasn't a change in the air. It was a confession." Clarissa's heart pounded. "What kind of confession?" Maxwell walked past her toward the drawing room. "Come." She followed in silence. He gestured for her to sit. Then he opened a drawer and pulled out a thin, weathered folder. "She left this with me. Unfiled. Unofficial. I was to give it to you only if you passed the halfway mark." Clarissa opened the folder. Inside was a handwritten letter. Not cold and commanding like the others, but shakier. Emotional. "Clarissa, if you're reading this, you've stayed. And I suppose that means there's hope left for both of us. I lied about your mother. About why I cast her out. It wasn't because she married beneath her, as I like to tell my peers. It was because she chose a man I had once loved. Ezra. Yes, that Ezra. Your father. You were conceived in rebellion. Lena refused to raise you under my roof, so she left, and I, out of spite and pride, cut her off entirely. I told people she was weak, that she ran off with a musician. But the truth is, I drove her away. And I never met you because I was too stubborn to admit I was wrong. You are the daughter of two people I punished. And you are also the only person left who can break the pattern. Maxwell knows. He was the one who found the original will buried in my things. I asked him not to tell you unless you stayed long enough to deserve it. Now you know the truth. And if you still want the fortune, you may have it. But I hope you want something else more. Eleanor." Clarissa's hands trembled. Her father. His name. His face. And finally, the truth that had hovered behind every story her mother never told. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked quietly. Maxwell sat down across from her. "Because I wasn't sure you could handle it yet. And because I was protecting more than just the estate." She met his gaze. "Did you know my father?" He nodded. "I did. Ezra and I were close. In college we were like brothers. And later, well, we both fell orbit to Eleanor in different ways. He through love. Me through obligation." "And what happened to him?" Maxwell's eyes flickered with pain. "He died in a car accident. Shortly after your mother fled this place. You were barely a year old." Clarissa sat back, the weight of everything pressing down on her like gravity had been turned up. "Eleanor never forgave herself," Maxwell said. "But she never apologized either. This," he tapped the letter, "was as close as she ever came." Clarissa looked down at the paper again. "I thought I came here to win something," she said. "But now it feels like I came here to finish something someone else started." Maxwell nodded. "Cycles end when someone chooses to stop spinning." That afternoon, Clarissa walked alone through the estate gardens. She found Juniper fixing a busted sprinkler system and offered to hold the wrench. Leo passed her a bottle of water and showed her how to trim roses without killing them. And that night, she sat at the long wooden staff table, not as an heiress but as a guest. As a person. Antoine made gumbo, and Miriam brought out old family photographs Eleanor used to keep locked away. Clarissa laughed. Not politely. Not to perform. Just laughed. Later, Maxwell joined her on the back veranda. "She really loved him, didn't she?" Clarissa asked. "Yes," he said. "But pride made her cruel. Just like it almost did to you. Clarissa looked out at the stars. I don't want to be like her. Then don't be. She turned to him. Is that what this was all about? Some twisted redemption quest for Eleanor's ghost? Maxwell smiled faintly. No. This was about giving you the truth and a choice. Clarissa looked down at her hands, still marked from the garden. I think I'm finally ready to make one. The storm began online. It always did. Clarissa had barely finished breakfast, poached eggs thanks to Antoine's suspicious patience, when her phone buzzed with the kind of persistence that only meant one thing: scandal. She opened it. A trending thread. At Social Truths Daily. Breaking: Clarissa Dale, socialite turned humble heiress, has a long history of racist, classist and elitist remarks, some as recent as last year. Here's a thread. She didn't need to scroll. She remembered every word. She remembered the party in Aspen where she made a comment about keeping the help in their place. The photo op at a charity gala where she'd laughed when a homeless man was shooed away. The cringeworthy tweets, the just jokes, the subtle sneers caught in the corners of luxury tabloids. And now they were all laid bare in full digital detail, time-stamped and unfiltered. Within an hour she was trending globally. By noon her brand deals were gone. Her modeling agency had issued a pause statement. Her PR team stopped answering her calls. By evening, Maxwell knocked once on her door, stepped inside and closed it gently behind him. It's everywhere, she said, staring at her silent phone. I'm being shredded. He said nothing. She looked up, eyes hollow. This isn't just a scandal. This is my name going down in flames. Maxwell sat across from her. Are the accusations false? She winced. They're not inaccurate, but they're old. I'm not that person anymore. Then say so. No one wants redemption stories anymore, she snapped. They want someone to bury. Maxwell leaned forward. Then you have to decide. Do you want to hide or do you want to own your past and show them who you are now? Clarissa exhaled slowly. I don't know if I can. You can, he said. But not if you keep pretending that change is something you can rehearse. It has to hurt. Clarissa spent the next 2 days off the grid. She didn't check the news. She didn't post a statement. Instead, she worked in the garden with Leo, cooked with Antoine, and let Miriam show her how to polish silver until her hands ached. I'm going to make a video, she said one night at dinner without preamble. The table fell quiet. An apology? Juniper asked, skeptical. No, not a PR stunt. I'm going to talk, honestly, about everything. Not the version a lawyer would approve. Maxwell gave a small nod. Then wait until morning. And speak with clarity. The storm is still here. Let them see you stand in it. At dawn, she recorded it on her phone. No makeup. No filters. No script. I'm Clarissa Dale. I used to be proud of that name. Now I'm learning what it actually means. The posts going around, those were real. I said those things. I laughed at the wrong jokes. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. I treated people like props in my performance of power. And I'm sorry. Deeply. Not just because I got caught, but because I now understand the harm I did. I came to this estate expecting an inheritance. I found something harder and better. I found accountability. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve applause. But I do believe people can change, if they're willing to be humbled. I still am. If you want to hate me, I get it. I did too once. But I'm staying here. Not for the money. For the chance to make it mean something. She posted it with a caption that simply read, "No excuses. Just the truth." And she waited. The internet didn't applaud. But it paused. Some responses were brutal. Some were cynical. But a surprising number were quiet. And slowly the noise shifted. People started digging up recent photos of her working in the garden. Footage of her helping clean a local park with Leo's volunteer group. A shaky video of her hugging a young girl outside a soup kitchen Miriam had introduced her to. Not redemption. Not yet. But something else. Maybe, possibility. Maxwell met her on the South Lawn 2 days later. I heard from the law firm, he said. They're still receiving pressure. Some board members want the estate redirected. They don't like controversy. Clarissa smirked. Tell them to stand in line. Twitter got there first. He handed her an envelope. They're requesting a written statement by week's end. You can keep the inheritance, but it'll come with watchdogs. Press. Conditions. And if I walk away? Maxwell shrugged. Then the Harrington legacy fades quietly into bureaucracy. She looked at the sprawling estate behind him. What would you do? I'd ask what future you want more. One where you prove yourself with someone else's money, or one where you build something from scratch. Clarissa stared at the envelope and ripped it in half. I'd rather build, she said. That night, the staff gathered for dinner again. No one mentioned the video. No one needed to. Antoine passed her the bread basket. Juniper rolled her eyes when Clarissa spilled wine on the tablecloth. Leo made a toast in her honor that was equal parts sarcastic and sincere. And Maxwell, at the end of the table, watched her with a look that wasn't judgment. It was quiet pride. As the sun dipped below the tree line, Clarissa walked alone to the farthest corner of the estate, where a small stone bench sat beneath a weeping willow. She took a letter from her coat pocket. The one from Eleanor. The first one. She read it again. No scandals. No cruelty. Treat everyone as an equal. Clarissa folded it, tucked it beneath the bench and whispered, I did it, old woman. Then she stood and walked away, not as someone who won, but as someone who changed. The storm had passed. Not completely. Online posts still lingered, whispered with curiosity or critique, but Clarissa was no longer hiding from them. She had weathered the downpour, peeled back her armor, and found that beneath the designer labels and sharp wit was something softer. Something real. It wasn't redemption. Not yet. But it was momentum. And she wasn't wasting it. Clarissa began her mornings at sunrise now. The air was cooler then, the estate quieter. It gave her time to think, reflect, act without performance. She started volunteering at Leo's weekend project, a community greenhouse 20 minutes from the estate. The soil there was poorer, the air rougher, and the people wary of her. But she kept coming back. She brought gloves, snacks, donations. She never once asked for photos. She didn't need proof. At the estate, changes rippled outward. She converted the east parlor into a reading room for staff breaks, furnished with vintage armchairs and an espresso machine she personally paid for. She invited Miriam to help design a rotating schedule for paid cleaning interns from the local trade school. She asked Antoine, quietly, humbly, if he would teach a monthly cooking class in the estate kitchen for low-income teens. She would cover the cost. He stared at her for a long moment, then said, only if you learn with them. She agreed. Every time. She also reached out to her mother's former friends. It was awkward at first, fumbling voicemails and cold emails, but eventually someone replied. A woman named Roz, who had known Lena since university. They met at a coffee shop 2 towns over. Roz was wiry, with the posture of someone who carried old grief. She loved you, you know, she said after the small talk faded. Your mother. Clarissa blinked. She didn't talk about me much. Roz gave a sad smile. Because it hurt. She said she was afraid she'd poisoned you by leaving. That the world you were raised in would turn you into her mother. Clarissa looked down at her cup. She was right to be afraid, she whispered. But she was wrong about how it ends, Roz replied. Because here you are. Changing. Clarissa didn't know what to say. So she just nodded and held back the tears that came anyway. Back at the estate, she found Maxwell waiting for her on the veranda. You've been busy, he said. I like it better this way. He smiled faintly. You're starting to walk like her. Clarissa tensed. Eleanor? No, he said. Lena. It hit her like a breath she hadn't taken in years. I wish I remembered her better, she murmured. Memories come in layers, Maxwell said. You're uncovering them now. With every step you take. She nodded. I want to change the estate, she said suddenly. Permanently. Open parts of it to the public. Partner with local programs. Host annual fundraisers for causes that matter. Maxwell raised an eyebrow. You're certain? I don't want this place to just be about legacy. I want it to serve people, not intimidate them. He folded his hands, watching her. And the fortune? Clarissa hesitated. Most of it should go into a trust, a living foundation. I'll take what I need to live comfortably, but not extravagantly. I've already lived that life. It didn't change me. Maxwell studied her, then gave the faintest nod. She would have hated this, he said. Clarissa grinned. I know. Weeks passed. And with each one, Clarissa felt the tension in her chest loosen. Not from winning, but from letting go. One night, as summer leaned into fall, the staff hosted an estate-wide dinner in the courtyard. Long tables, string lights, jazz on a Bluetooth speaker. Guests from town. Former employees. Leo students. Even Raj showed up, bringing photos of Lena Clarissa had never seen before. Clarissa stood to give a short speech, and for the first time, no part of her felt like she was performing. A few months ago, I walked into this house thinking I was here to inherit a fortune. I thought I could charm my way through 8 weeks of civility. What I didn't expect was to be humbled, or forgiven, or taught. This place changed me. You changed me. And I intend to spend the rest of my life proving that it was worth it. Applause rang out, not explosive but honest. After the meal, as dusk settled and laughter curled through the night air, Maxwell approached her with a quiet look. "It's time," he said. Clarissa tilted her head. "Time for what?" He held out an envelope. Simple. Cream-colored. No wax seal. Just her name in his own careful handwriting. Clarissa Dale. They sat together under the oak tree while she opened it. Inside, a legal deed, the original copy of Eleanor's final will, and a handwritten note from Maxwell. "Clarissa, you've completed the terms. The estate is yours. The accounts, the holdings, the responsibilities. You've earned them, not through inheritance but transformation. The truth is, I had the authority to finalize this 3 weeks ago. I waited because I wanted to see what you'd do when you thought there was no reward. You didn't just pass the test. You outgrew it. Maxwell." Clarissa folded the note slowly. She didn't cry. She didn't cheer. She just breathed. Plain. "I think," she said softly, "this might be the first thing I've ever truly earned." Maxwell nodded. "And tomorrow?" he asked. "I start again," she said. "Not for me. For them." She glanced back toward the party, where Juniper was teaching a group of kids how to spin a wrench like a lasso, where Miriam was dancing, where Leo was smiling, where the estate for the first time in decades felt alive. Clarissa stood at the estate gates. Same place she'd entered 8 weeks ago. Same heels, though now scuffed from wear. Same sun casting golden light across the gravel. But everything else was different. Back then she'd arrived believing the world owed her. That money, appearance, and charm could crack any door. That kindness was a costume. That decency could be faked. Now the doors were hers to open, and she wasn't sure she wanted them. The next morning, reporters lined the drive. It had taken time for the media to catch up with her quiet transformation, but once they did, the questions came fast. Will you keep the money? Is the estate opening to the public? Are you planning to rebrand yourself? Are you still a millionaire or just a reform project? Clarissa didn't answer. Not yet. She let them linger outside the wrought iron gates, murmuring like distant thunder. Maxwell handled the press. Antoine baked extra bread. Miriam placed sunflowers in the window and said, "Let them see what a home looks like." Inside, the estate buzzed with quiet purpose. Staff were no longer just employees, they were collaborators. Clarissa sat in the drawing room, finalizing something far more important than any headline. The foundation papers. She was naming it the Harrington Renewal Trust. Not after Eleanor. Not even after herself. But after the idea that anyone given the chance, and the choice, could become more than they were taught to be. Later that day, Maxwell met her in the West Garden. "Your final press conference is scheduled," he said, handing her a tablet. "You can read from this or speak freely." Clarissa looked up from the screen. "Would you be disappointed if I didn't say anything?" He raised an eyebrow. "You've changed. Not vanished." She grinned. "I'll speak, but not to them. Not first." She walked to the courtyard where the staff waited. Antoine, Miriam, Juniper, Leo, and the others who had stopped being them and become her people. Clarissa stood on the steps and cleared her throat. "I came here to take," she said. "That was the plan. Smile. Survive. Collect the prize." Everyone chuckled softly. But somewhere along the way I stopped wanting to take. And started wanting to build. Juniper leaned on her shovel, watching. "This estate used to be a monument to fear and silence," Clarissa said. "Now I want it to be a haven. For growth. For mistakes. For second chances." She gestured toward the front drive. "I won't deny where I came from. But I also won't pretend that who I was deserves celebration. That version of me is buried here. Under roses. Under laughter. Under work I didn't believe I was capable of. Antoine crossed his arms, smiling. So what now, boss? Clarissa took a breath. I'm keeping the estate, she said. But not the way it was. She looked directly at Maxwell. And I'm keeping the money, but most of it will live in a foundation. It will go to education, housing, and second chances. Especially for people who were never offered a first one. Leo hooped. Miriam clapped. Even Juniper offered a crooked grin. Maxwell just nodded. No approval. No ceremony. Just quiet, earned respect. That evening, Clarissa finally stood before the press. No script. No pre-approved sound bites. The crowd waited. Cameras clicked. Live feeds buzzed. She wore a simple black dress and a necklace that once belonged to her mother. Thank you for coming. A few months ago, I would have stood here to announce my victory, my ownership, my wealth. But today I'm here to offer something else, a decision. I'm accepting the Harrington inheritance, but I'm redistributing it. The estate will be partially public. It will host retreats, workshops, and education programs focused on leadership, restoration, and equality. The trust attached to this fortune will fund marginalized voices and rebuild broken bridges in places that once seemed unreachable. I'm not trying to erase my past. I'm building over it, brick by brick, hand in hand with the people who taught me how to become human again. And I'm not interested in being forgiven. I'm interested in being useful. She stepped away from the podium before the questions could start. There was nothing left to explain. Weeks passed. Then months. The estate transformed. Garden paths once overgrown were pruned into quiet walking trails. The staff grew, bringing in apprentices and students. The ballroom was repurposed into a creative arts space. The East Wing opened its doors to weekend visitors and school children. Clarissa traded her stilettos for flats. She no longer felt like a character in someone else's drama. She felt like the architect of a new chapter. One afternoon, she stood in the upstairs hall and noticed something strange. Eleanor's portrait, the one that had loomed above the stairs, was gone. Maxwell appeared beside her, hands behind his back. I took it down, he said. Clarissa raised an eyebrow. You? The executor who lived and breathed by her rules. She doesn't need to watch anymore, he said. And you don't need to be watched. Clarissa smiled. What did you do with it? Put it in storage. Might let the mice vote on whether to burn it. They laughed. Then Clarissa turned to him with something in her hand. A small framed photo. Of Lena and Ezra. Clarissa placed it on the hallway table, centered between two vases of fresh lavender. Maxwell looked at her. Are you sure? Yes, she said. They deserve to be seen. That night, Clarissa sat alone on the balcony outside her suite. She looked out at the moonlit grounds, the gentle glow of solar lamps lining the paths, the laughter of students in the converted stable-turned theater. She didn't feel rich. She felt responsible. A weight not of gold but of meaning. A life not of luxury but purpose. Maxwell joined her with 2 cups of tea. They sat in silence. Until he said, "You've made your choice." Clarissa nodded. "I thought I came here to inherit a house," she said quietly. Maxwell smiled. "But I inherited a chance," she finished. "And this time I won't waste it." Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video.